Good evening. Today we're going to talk about organizing your information. You start out with your subject. You have this main idea that you're wanting to further clarify. You have an audience that you need to direct the purpose at. Are you trying to persuade that audience? Are you trying to inform them? Or are you collaborating with that audience? You first, to start the organization process, have to determine in what manner you're going to present this information. There's techniques for you to generate the ideas and main points that you're going to be presenting. You can brainstorm, which you can get together with, a friend or a coworker or whatever to generate as many ideas as you can. You just start writing them all down and you just capture it all. And then you can just look through that, find the main points, what supports each other, and then what you're going to actually present. The journalistic approach is just asking the basic questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. The question and answer chain is where you're starting with the audience perspective, the question, and then you work back towards the message that you want to get across. And then you have the storyteller's tour, which is where you're just going to record yourself talking about it so that way you can play back and you can determine what's important, and you can even record multiple times until you get the message that you really find important. And then there's mind mapping, where you're going to start with the main idea, maybe in the center bubble or at the top of your paper, and you're just going to branch off of that, the points that you find important, and you'll just come up with a web of ideas. And then you have to think about, how am I going to approach this topic? Am I going to do a direct approach, which is where you're going to open up with the main idea, or are you going to do an indirect approach where you're going to withhold that main idea and build up with all the logic and the support and then present that main idea after you've got the logic and support? The book talks about, kind of knowing your audience, and so determining based off of your audience which approach to use. So if you see this chart on here that they're talking about, if they're eager, interested, pleased, or neutral, you're going to try the direct approach. You're going to start with that main point and then just provide the details from there. And then if you have displeased, uninterested, or unwilling, you're going to go with the indirect approach, because you're going to want to capture their attention before you just present this idea. You are then going to jump to an outline. You want to outline your main idea and then break it into those points that you've maybe generated from that web mapping or from your brainstorming, and you're going to put it into logical points. So you're going to have a main point and then provide evidence and support for those main points. But you kind of want to limit how many main points you're making, because if you start to make too many main points, you're going to lose your audience. They're going to become bored and then they're just going to say, forget it, this doesn't even matter. So main points and be precise. Ultimately, your goal is to provide the clear message. If you come across unorganized, you're not going to get the support. And you're going to save the audience time. If you organize, present the idea, logical, get the message across, that's the goal. In my experience, we train new associates, and so some of them come into the industry with no knowledge, and so there's a lot of informational training, and so we start out, what makes sense? What order do we train them? We have to provide them with the information to be able to do this work efficiently. We have to decide what's really important, and ultimately the result should be that they should be able to do the work. So I've had to create training documents, and so some of them are kind of just a brief overview touching some key points, and then some of them are step by step, where you just take them from every single step that they need to do, from one click to the next click. We have to teach them a system, so a lot of the systems that they're on are systems that you don't use in everyday life. So most people these days are computer savvy, so they can catch on quickly, but you have to show them where these things are. And so we have to stress the importance of these things and how important, it is to click here, why it's important, why they're doing what they're doing. We have to engage them and, explain why. Like, why am I doing this? What makes it important? And if they don't know why it's important, they're not going to do a good job. So, thank you.